The knife went in, and Ethan didn't scream. He was 7 years old, barefoot, starving, and he didn't let go of Lily's hand. Blood poured down his arm, soaking into the pavement, but his fingers stayed locked around hers. The kidnapper kicked him in the ribs. Something cracked. Still, he held on. "Run!" He choked out, shoving her toward the door. He collapsed in a pool of his own blood, and the last thing he saw was Lily's face. What he didn't know was that her father commanded 200 bikers. And by morning every single one of them would come for the boy who bled for their princess. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and follow my story to the end. Comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has traveled. Mrs. Santos dropped the plate. It shattered against the kitchen floor, ceramic pieces scattering everywhere, but she didn't move. She just stood there, staring through the back window of her diner, her hand still frozen in midair where the plate had been. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God, oh my God." Her legs gave out. She grabbed the counter, knocked over a coffee pot, barely noticed the hot liquid splashing across her apron. Outside in the parking lot behind Santos Family Diner, a 7-year-old boy was bleeding on the pavement, and he was still holding on to Lily Reyes with both hands. 3 hours earlier, Ethan had been counting bottle caps. It was a stupid thing counting bottle caps. He knew that. But when you were 7 years old and had nothing else, you found things to count, things to collect, things to make you feel like you existed. 47 bottle caps. That was how many he had now. He kept them in a rusty tin box behind the dumpster at Santos Family Diner, right next to his sleeping spot. The box had a picture of Christmas cookies on the lid, faded and scratched. But Ethan liked it. It reminded him of something, though he couldn't remember what anymore. His mother, maybe. Before she got sick. Before everything went dark. Ethan. The voice cut through his thoughts like sunshine through storm clouds. He looked up, and there she was, Lily Reyes, 5 years old, standing at the edge of the parking lot with her hands on her hips, like she owned the whole world. "Ethan, what are you doing?" He quickly shoved the bottle cap into his pocket. "Nothing." "That's not nothing. I saw you. You were looking at something." She walked toward him, her pink sneakers crunching on the gravel. Ethan noticed she had a new scrape on her knee. She was always getting scrapes. Always running, always climbing, always falling down and getting back up again. "It's just a bottle cap," he mumbled. "Can I see?" He hesitated. Then slowly, he pulled it out. It was a Coca-Cola cap, the red paint mostly worn off, but still shiny in the center. Lily took it from his palm and examined it like it was a precious gemstone. "It's beautiful," she said. Ethan felt something warm spread through his chest. It was a strange feeling. He wasn't used to it. "You can have it," he said, "if you want." Lily's eyes went wide. "Really? Yeah, I got lots of them." She clutched the bottle cap to her chest. "I'm gonna keep it forever. I'm gonna put it in my special box with my butterfly." The butterfly. Ethan remembered it, a paper butterfly Lily had made and given him 2 weeks ago. He still had it folded carefully inside his jacket pocket. He'd never told her that he slept with it every night, holding it in his fist like a prayer. "Your mom's gonna be looking for you," Ethan said. "She's busy. She's always busy. She's working hard for you." Lily scrunched up her face. "I know, but I don't like being alone." "You're not alone," Ethan said quietly. "I'm here." Lily smiled at him, a real smile, the kind that made her whole face light up. "Yeah," she said. "You're always here?" The thing about being invisible was that people told you things without meaning to. They talked in front of you like you weren't there. They argued, whispered secrets, made plans, all while looking right through you like you were made of glass. Ethan had learned more about the world from being invisible than most kids learned in school. He knew that Mr. Patterson from the hardware store was cheating on his wife with the lady from the bank. He knew that the teenagers who hung out behind the gas station were selling more than just cigarettes. He knew that Sheriff Davis sometimes drank on duty, and that Mrs. Chen's son had gotten kicked out of college but was too ashamed to tell her. And he knew that a white van had been circling the block for 3 days. Same van, same time, same route. He'd noticed it on Monday. Tuesday it came back. Wednesday it slowed down when it passed the diner. Today was Thursday. Ethan watched the van from his spot behind the dumpster. It was parked now 2 blocks down, just visible through the gap between buildings. He could see the driver's silhouette, but not his face. The driver wasn't doing anything. Just sitting there, waiting. Ethan had seen waiting before. He'd seen it in the foster homes, in the eyes of men who pretended to be nice, but weren't. He'd learned to recognize it, that patient, predatory stillness. Something was wrong. He just didn't know what yet. "Ethan, look what I made." Lily came running out the back door of the diner holding something in her hands. Her mother Maria's voice followed her. "Lily, stay where I can see you." "I will, Mama." Ethan stood up, brushing dirt off his jeans. They were too big for him, held up by a rope belt he'd found in a construction site. His shirt was cleaner today. Well, Santos had let him wash it in the diner's bathroom yesterday. Lily thrust her creation toward him. It was a paper crane, slightly lopsided, made from a napkin. "I learned how to make a bird," she announced proudly. "It's for you." "For me, for your collection. You can put it with the butterfly." Ethan took the crane carefully, like it might dissolve if he held it too tight. "Thank you," he said. His voice cracked on the words. Lily tilted her head. "Are you sad?" "No." "You look sad." "I'm not sad. I'm just—" He didn't know how to finish. He didn't have words for what he was. Lily reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were small and warm and slightly sticky from whatever she'd been eating inside. "My daddy says that sometimes people are sad and they don't even know it," she said. "He says you just gotta be nice to them and maybe they'll feel better." "Your daddy sounds smart." "He's the smartest. He's got a motorcycle. It's really loud. He lets me sit on it sometimes, but only when it's not moving." She paused. "Do you want to meet him? He'd like you." Ethan felt his stomach tighten. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Why not?" Because parents didn't want their kids hanging around homeless boys. Because one look at him would make Lily's father grab her hand and pull her away. Because this fragile friendship would shatter the moment an adult got involved. "Because I'm busy," he said lamely. Lily didn't believe him. He could see it in her eyes. But she didn't push. "Okay," she said. "Maybe later." Maria Reyes appeared at the back door, wiping her hands on her apron. "Lily, come inside. Dinner rush is starting." "But Mama—" "Now, baby." Lily sighed dramatically. "I gotta go." "I know. Will you be here tomorrow?" Ethan nodded. "I'm always here." She gave him one last smile, then ran toward the door. She stopped halfway, turned back, and waved. "Bye, Ethan." "Bye, Lily." Maria held the door open, watching her daughter approach. Then her eyes lifted to Ethan. For a moment, their gazes locked. Ethan braced himself for the disgust. The fear. The instinctive protectiveness that would make her grab Lily and pull her inside and tell her never to talk to that dirty boy again. But Maria Reyes did something unexpected. She smiled at him. It was small, tired, but real, a smile that said, "I see you." Then she ushered Lily inside and closed the door. Ethan stood there for a long moment, the paper crane still in his hands. I see you. When was the last time someone had seen him? The sun began to drop. Shadows stretched across the parking lot, crawling over the cracked pavement, like dark fingers reaching for something to hold. Ethan should have settled into his spot behind the dumpster, should have eaten the half sandwich Mrs. Santos had left for him in the usual place, a plastic container hidden behind the recycling bins where no one else would see. But he couldn't shake the feeling in his gut. The van was still there. He walked to the edge of the parking lot, keeping close to the building's wall. From here he could see the street better. The van hadn't moved in 2 hours. That wasn't normal. People didn't sit in their cars for 2 hours doing nothing. Not unless they were waiting for something specific. Or someone. Ethan's heart began to beat faster. He thought about telling someone. Mrs. Santos, maybe. Or Maria. But what would he say? There's a van, and I have a bad feeling they'd think he was crazy. They'd pat his head and tell him not to worry and send him away. No one listened to invisible boys. No one except Lily. The back door opened. Ethan spun around expecting Maria or Mrs. Santos. It was Lily. She was alone. "What are you doing?" he hissed, running toward her. "You're supposed to be inside. I forgot to give you this." She held out her hand. In her palm was a red lollipop. "Mrs. Santos gave it to me, but I wanted you to have it." "Lily, you have to go back inside." "Why? What's wrong?" "Everything," Ethan wanted to say. "Everything is wrong, and I don't know how to explain it. Just please go back inside," he said. Lily frowned. "You're being weird." "I'm not being weird, I'm—" He heard it then. An engine starting. He turned. The white van was moving. "Lily, get inside. Now." "But, now." He grabbed her hand and started pulling her toward the door. Lily stumbled, confused, scared by the sudden change in his voice. "Ethan, you're hurting me. I'm sorry, just please." The van turned the corner. It was coming into the parking lot. Ethan's mind went blank with terror. There was no time. The door was 50 feet away, and the van was moving fast, and they weren't going to make it. They weren't going to make it. "Run," he breathed. "Lily, run." They ran. Ethan had never run so fast in his life. His lungs burned. His legs screamed. Lily was crying now, stumbling over her own feet, and he was practically dragging her. 30 feet to the door. 20. The van doors slid open. A man jumped out. Big fast, wearing a dark hoodie. 15 feet. "Help!" Ethan screamed. "Somebody help!" The man was right behind them. Ethan felt a hand grab his collar. He twisted, kicked, threw his elbow back as hard as he could. The grip loosened for 1 second. 1 second was enough. "Go!" He shoved Lily forward. "Run to the door!" But Lily didn't run. She turned around. "Ethan!" The man's fist connected with the side of Ethan's head. Stars exploded across his vision. He hit the ground hard, gravel tearing into his palms. Blood filled his mouth. He'd bitten his tongue. "Stupid kid," the man snarled. He stepped over Ethan, reaching for Lily. "No, no, 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 no." Ethan grabbed the man's ankle. He held on with everything he had. "Run!" he screamed. "Lily, run!" The man cursed, tried to shake him off. When that didn't work, he kicked. The boot slammed into Ethan's ribs. Something cracked. Pain, white-hot, blinding, shot through his entire body. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. But he didn't let go. He would never let go. The man kicked again. Harder this time. Ethan's grip slipped. He tasted blood. Everything was spinning, darkening at the edges. "Mama!" Lily screamed. "Mama! Mama!" The man lunged for her. Ethan grabbed his jacket. "Leave her alone!" The man spun around. There was something in his hand now, something that caught the fading sunlight. A knife. "You want to die, kid, fine." The blade came down. Ethan didn't feel it at first. He saw the knife cutting into his arm, deep blood welling up immediately, but the pain took a second to arrive. When it did, it was worse than anything he'd ever experienced. He screamed, but he still didn't let go of Lily's hand. "Get off him!" Mrs. Santos came out of nowhere. She had a frying pan in her hand, and she swung it like a baseball bat. The man ducked, stumbled backward. "Help!" Mrs. Santos screamed. "Somebody call 911!" The man looked at Lily, at Ethan, at the frying pan. Then he ran. The van peeled out of the parking lot, tires squealing, and disappeared around the corner. Mrs. Santos dropped to her knees beside Ethan. Oh God, you're bleeding everywhere. Lily," Ethan gasped. "Is Lily? I'm here." Small hands touched his face. Lily was crying snot and tears running down her cheeks. "Ethan, don't die. Please don't die." "I'm not dying." But he wasn't sure. Everything was getting fuzzy. The world was tilting sideways. "Stay with me," Mrs. Santos was saying. "Stay with me, honey. Help is coming." Ethan looked at Lily. "You're okay," she nodded, still crying. "Good," he breathed. "Good." His eyes closed. Maria Reyes ran out the back door and stopped dead. Her daughter was covered in blood. For one terrible moment, her heart simply stopped. "Lily! Mama, help him! Help Ethan!" Maria's brain caught up. The blood wasn't Lily's. It was the boy's, the homeless boy, the one who was always lurking around the parking lot. He was lying on the ground, deathly pale, his arm sliced open to the bone. What happened? She was already on her knees, stripping off her apron, pressing it against the wound. "What happened?" "A man tried to take me," Lily sobbed. Ethan stopped him. "He wouldn't let go, Mama. He wouldn't let go." Maria looked down at the boy in her arms. 7 years old, half-starved, homeless, and he'd thrown himself in front of a knife for her daughter. "The ambulance is coming," Mrs. Santos said. "I called 911. Maria nodded, but she was already reaching for her phone with her free hand, already dialing a number she knew by heart. It rang once. "Hey, baby, what's up?" "Dom." Her voice cracked. "Something happened. Someone tried to take Lily." Silence. 3 heartbeats of silence. Then, "Where are you?" "The diner. The parking lot." "I'm on my way." The line went dead. Maria looked down at the boy, bleeding in her arms. "Hold on, sweetheart. Please hold on." Ethan didn't respond. But somewhere in the distance, an engine roared to life. Then another. Then another. Dominic Reyes didn't remember the drive. One moment he was at the clubhouse, the next he was pulling into the diner parking lot, his brothers right behind him. The ambulance was already there. Paramedics were loading someone onto a stretcher, a small body, too small, covered in blood. His heart seized. "Lily, Daddy." She came running out of nowhere and slammed into his legs. He scooped her up, crushed her against his chest, and for 10 seconds he just breathed. She was alive. She was here. She was okay. Baby girl, are you hurt?" "I'm okay, Daddy, but Ethan's not okay. The man hurt him really bad." Dom looked over her shoulder. The stretcher was being loaded into the ambulance now. He could see the boy's face, pale eyes closed, an oxygen mask covering his mouth and nose. "Who is Ethan?" Maria appeared beside him, her hands covered in blood. "He's a homeless boy who's been living behind the diner," she said. "Dom, he saved her. He threw himself between Lily and the kidnapper." He took a knife for her. Dom stared at the ambulance. A homeless 7-year-old had done what he wasn't there to do. A child had protected his daughter when he couldn't. What hospital? His voice didn't sound like his own. Riverside General. Dom handed Lily to Maria. Take her home. Get the clubhouse locked down. No one in or out until I know what's going on. Where are you going? The hospital. He climbed back on his bike. That boy saved my daughter's life. I'm gonna make damn sure he doesn't die alone. The waiting room was cold. Dom sat in a plastic chair, still wearing his leather vest, still covered in road dust. 3 of his brothers were with him, Brick, Hammer, and Ghost. They didn't speak. There was nothing to say. 2 hours passed. A doctor finally appeared, looking tired and grim. Family of Ethan. He checked his clipboard. We don't have a last name. Dom stood. I'm here for him. The doctor frowned. Are you a relative? Does it matter? We need someone to authorize treatment. The boy has no identification, no insurance, no emergency contacts. Legally, I'll authorize it. Sir, you're not... Dom stepped closer. He was not a small man. 6'2", 240 pounds, covered in tattoos, with a presence that made people instinctively step back. That boy saved my daughter's life tonight, he said quietly. He took a knife to keep her safe. Whatever he needs surgery blood specialists, I'm paying for it. All of it. Is that clear? The doctor swallowed. Crystal clear. Good. Now tell me if he's gonna live. The doctor explained. Broken ribs, a concussion, a 7-inch laceration on his left forearm that had nicked an artery. He lost a lot of blood. We had to operate to repair the damage. He's stable now, but the next 24 hours are critical. Can I see him? He's unconscious. He won't know you're there. I don't care. The doctor led him down a long hallway to a room at the end. Through the window, Dom could see the boy lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines that beeped and hummed. He looked even smaller here. 7 years old. Bones showing through his skin. Old bruises on his arms that had nothing to do with tonight. Dom's hands curled into fists. What do we know about him? He asked. Nothing. No records. No one's reported a missing child matching his description. He's a ghost. Ghost. Dom almost laughed. Leave us alone, he said. The doctor retreated. Dom pulled a chair up to the bed and sat down heavily. For a long moment he just stared at the boy. Then slowly he reached out and took Ethan's small hand in his. Hey kid, he said softly. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm going to say this anyway. He squeezed gently. You saved my little girl tonight. You didn't know her daddy was a biker. You didn't know she had people who could have helped. You just saw her in trouble and you threw yourself in front of a knife. His voice cracked. I've known grown men who wouldn't do what you did. Hell, I've known brothers who talked big but ran when it mattered. But you're 7 years old and you almost died for a girl you barely know. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. So here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna wake up, you're gonna heal, and whatever comes next, you're not doing it alone. I don't care if you've got no family. I don't care if the whole damn system has written you off. You're not invisible anymore, you hear me? Not to me. Not ever again. The machines beeped. Ethan didn't stir. But Dom stayed. He stayed all night. At 3:47 a.m., his phone rang. Yeah. It's Brick. We got a problem. Dom stepped out of the room, keeping his voice low. Talk to me. That van you had us looking for, we found it. Where? Abandoned 2 miles outside of town. But here's the thing. Prez, there were zip ties in the back, children's shoes, and a list. Dom's blood went cold. What kind of list? Names, ages, photos. 12 kids all under 10 years old. Our little friend Lily was on there. Silence. This wasn't random, Brick continued. This was organized. Professional. Someone's been targeting kids in this area for months. Dom looked through the window at Ethan. A 7-year-old homeless boy had stumbled onto a trafficking operation, and he'd almost died trying to stop it. Call church, Dom said. Everyone, wake them up if you have to. What are we doing? What we do best. He hung up and walked back into the room. Ethan was still unconscious, his small chest rising and falling with each breath. You didn't just save Lily, Dom whispered. You might have saved them all. He pulled out his phone again and started making calls. By sunrise, every Thunder Saints chapter within 300 miles would know what had happened. By noon, the roads would shake with the sound of 200 engines. And by nightfall, the men who had tried to take his daughter would learn what happened when you threatened someone the Saints protected. But that was tomorrow. Tonight, Dom sat beside a 7-year-old hero's bed and watched him breathe. The sun was just breaking over Riverside when the first motorcycle pulled into the hospital parking lot. Then another. Then 10 more. Dom hadn't slept. His eyes burned, his back ached from the plastic chair, but he hadn't moved from Ethan's bedside except to make calls. Now, standing at the window, he watched his brothers arrive. Brick was first. Then Hammer Ghost Razor, and the twins they called Salt and Pepper. Behind them came faces Dom hadn't seen in months. Riders from Austin, from Houston, from as far as El Paso. His phone buzzed. Prez, we're in the lot, 47 and counting. Keep them quiet. This is a hospital. Copy that. Dom looked back at Ethan. The boy hadn't woken up. The machines kept beeping their steady rhythm, the only proof that he was still fighting. I gotta step out for a minute, kid, Dom said softly. But I'm coming back. That's a promise. He walked out of the room and headed for the parking lot. The sight that greeted him made his chest tight. 47 motorcycles lined up in perfect rows, 47 men in leather vests standing silent in the morning light. Some he knew like brothers, others he'd only met once or twice. But they'd all come. They'd all come for a 7-year-old boy none of them had ever met. Brick stepped forward. Word spread fast, Prez. Everyone wants in. In on what? Whatever you're planning. Brick's jaw was set hard. We saw the list. 12 kids. Someone's been hunting children in our territory and we didn't even know. Dom felt the anger rise in his chest, hot and sharp. Where's the list now? Ghost has it. We made copies, sent the original to a contact at the sheriff's office. Anonymous tip. Good. What else? We traced the van's registration. Fake plates, but Razor found a parking ticket from 3 weeks ago. Same van parked outside an elementary school in Cedar Creek. Dom's hands clenched into fists. They've been scouting, he said. For months, looks like. Maybe longer. And nobody noticed. Nobody was looking. Brick paused. Until that kid in there decided to look. Dom turned back toward the hospital. A 7-year-old homeless boy had seen what cops, parents, and an entire town had missed. Get everyone inside, he said. Conference room on the 2nd floor. We need to talk. Maria arrived at 7:15 a.m., Lily holding her hand. Dom met them in the lobby. Lily's eyes were red from crying, and she clutched a piece of paper against her chest. How is he? Maria asked. Still unconscious. Doctors say he might wake up today. Might. They're not sure. He lost a lot of blood. Lily tugged on Dom's jacket. Daddy, I made something for Ethan. She held up the paper. It was a butterfly carefully folded from a napkin. Lopsided, imperfect, but made with more love than Dom had seen in anything. "I want to give it to him," Lily said. Dom knelt down to her level. "Baby girl Ethan's sleeping right now." "I know, but when he wakes up I want the butterfly to be the first thing he sees, so he knows I didn't leave." Dom's throat tightened. "Okay," he said. "Let's go put it by his bed." The hospital room felt different with Lily in it. She walked straight to Ethan's bed, stood on her tiptoes, and carefully placed the paper butterfly on the pillow next to his head. "There," she whispered. "Now you won't be scared when you wake up." Maria watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face. "He's so small," she said. "God, Dom, he's smaller than Lily." "I know. How does a child that young end up on the streets? Where are his parents? Where's the system that's supposed to protect kids like him?" Dom didn't have an answer. He'd been asking himself the same questions all night. "Mama," Lily said, "Ethan doesn't have a mama or a daddy, does he?" Maria wiped her eyes. "I don't know, baby." "Then who takes care of him?" Silence. Lily looked at Ethan's pale face, at the bandages on his arm, at the machines monitoring his heart. "I'll take care of him," she said. "He saved me, so now I'll save him." Dom and Maria exchanged a look. "Baby girl," Dom started. "It's not that simple. Why not?" He didn't have an answer for that either. At 9:30 a.m., Detective Ray Hollins walked into the hospital. He was a big man, heavy-set, with gray hair, and a weathered face that had seen too much. Dom knew him from way back. They'd grown up in the same neighborhood, taken different paths, but kept a mutual respect. "Dominic." "Ray." They shook hands. "Hell of a night," Hollins said. "You got our package?" "The list." "Yeah, we got it." Hollins glanced around, lowered his voice. "You know I can't officially use anonymous tips, but I made some calls. FBI's interested. This might be bigger than we thought." "How big?" "Big. That list had 12 names, but we found another list in a database the feds have been tracking. Same format, same organization. Over 50 kids across 3 states. Dom felt sick. 50, at least, some already missing, some still being watched. Hollins paused. "That little boy in there, he stumbled onto something massive. If he hadn't intervened when he did, your daughter would have been number 53. The world tilted slightly. Dom grabbed the wall to steady himself. "Who are these people?" "We don't know yet, but we're gonna find out." Hollins looked toward Ethan's room. "How's the kid? Hanging on?" "He got any family? None that we can find." Hollins sighed. "Figured. Kids like him fall through every crack in the system. No one even knows they exist until something like this happens." "Well, people know now." "Yeah." Hollins studied Dom's face. "What are you planning, Dominic? What do you mean? I've known you 30 years. I know that look. You're planning something." Dom met his eyes. "I'm planning to make sure whoever did this pays for it. Let us handle it. This is police business. And I'll let you handle the legal side. But if you think I'm gonna sit around while the people who tried to take my daughter are still out there, you don't know me as well as you think." Hollins was quiet for a moment. "Just don't do anything stupid," he said finally. "Define stupid. Anything that lands you in a cell next to them." Dom almost smiled. "No promises." At 11:00 a.m., Ethan's monitors started beeping faster. The nurse rushed in. Dom and Maria were right behind her. "What's happening?" Maria demanded. "He's waking up." The nurse checked the machines, adjusted something on the IV. "His vitals are stabilizing. This is good." Dom moved to the bedside. Ethan's eyes were moving beneath his closed lids. His fingers twitched. A small sound escaped his throat, something between a whimper and a groan. "Easy, kid," Dom said. "You're safe. You're in a hospital. Nobody's gonna hurt you." Ethan's eyes opened. For a moment he just stared at the ceiling, confusion clouding his face. Then his gaze shifted to Dom, and pure terror flooded his expression. He tried to move, tried to get away, but the IV and monitors held him in place. "Hey, hey, hey!" Dom held up his hands. "It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm Lily's dad." Ethan froze. "Lily, yeah, Lily, the little girl you saved." Memory crashed back into Ethan's eyes. The van, the knife, the blood. "Is she okay?" His voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. "The man, did he—" "She's fine. She's perfect because of you." Ethan's body sagged with relief. Tears spilled down his cheeks. "I thought he was going to take her. I thought he didn't. You stopped him." The door opened, and Lily slipped in. She'd been waiting in the hallway, and nobody had been able to keep her out once she heard Ethan's voice. "Ethan?" She ran to the bed, climbed onto the chair beside it, and grabbed his hand. "You're awake. You're awake. I knew you'd wake up. I made you a butterfly, see?" She pointed to the paper butterfly on his pillow. Ethan looked at it. Then he looked at Lily. And for the first time since Dom had met him, the boy smiled. "I'm hungry," Ethan said. It was the first thing he'd said in an hour that wasn't about Lily's safety. Dom laughed. Actually laughed. "Yeah, I bet you are. What do you want?" Ethan hesitated. Like he wasn't sure if the question was real. Like he'd never been asked what he wanted before. "Anything, anything. Name it." A pause. "A cheeseburger. Done." Dom pulled out his phone. "Brick, get me the biggest cheeseburger in Riverside. Fries, too. And a milkshake. What flavor, kid?" Ethan blinked. "Chocolate? Chocolate it is." 30 minutes later, Ethan was sitting up in bed, devouring a cheeseburger bigger than his head. Lily sat beside him, stealing fries and chattering about everything and nothing. Dom watched from the corner of the room. This kid had been living on scraps for God knows how long, sleeping in alleys, wearing clothes held together with tape and prayers. And he'd still found the courage to throw himself in front of a knife for a girl he barely knew. What kind of world let children like this exist in the shadows? And what kind of man would Dom be if he sent Ethan back to those shadows? "Mr. Reyes." A woman appeared in the doorway. 30s blonde, wearing a blazer and carrying a clipboard. Dom stood. "That's me." "I'm Sandra Mills from Child Protective Services. I understand you've been watching over our John Doe." "His name is Ethan." "Ethan, right." She glanced at the boy, at the cheeseburger, at Lily sitting on the bed. "I need to speak with you privately." They stepped into the hallway. "Mr. Reyes, I appreciate what you've done for this child. But you need to understand he's a ward of the state now. We'll be taking over his care." "Taking over how?" "He'll be placed in a foster home as soon as he's medically cleared." "Foster home?" Dom's voice was flat. "You mean the system that already failed him?" "Excuse me. He's been on the streets for 2 years. Where was CPS then? Where were the foster homes when he was eating out of dumpsters and sleeping behind restaurants?" Sandra's jaw tightened. "The system isn't perfect. The system is broken, and I'm not letting you throw him back into it. You don't have a choice. You're not his family." Dom stepped closer. Not threatening, he'd never threaten a woman, but close enough that she had to look up to meet his eyes. "That boy saved my daughter's life. He almost died protecting her. In my world, that makes him family." "Your world?" "You mean your motorcycle club." "I mean the world where actions matter more than paperwork. where courage means something, where you don't abandon people just because the system says you should. Sandra's expression flickered. For a moment, something almost like understanding crossed her face. What exactly are you proposing, Mr. Reyes? I want to keep him. Silence. Keep him. Officially. Legally. Whatever paperwork you need me to sign. You want to foster a child you met 12 hours ago. I want to give that child a home. Something tells me he's never had one. Sandra studied him for a long moment. This isn't how it usually works, she said slowly. Nothing about this situation is usual. You'd need to be certified. Background checks, home inspections, interviews. So do them. Do all of it. You'll find that I'm more than qualified. Mr. Reyes, Dominic, or Dom. Mr. Reyes was my father. A tiny smile tugged at her lips. Dom, this process takes time. How much time? Weeks, maybe months. Then start now, because that boy in there, he's not going back to the streets, not today, not ever. Sandra looked at him. Then she looked through the window at Ethan, who was laughing at something Lily had said. Let me make some calls, she said. At 3:00 p.m., Ethan had his first panic attack. 1 minute he was fine talking to Lily about her school. The next his breathing went ragged, his eyes went wide, and he started clawing at the IV in his arm. Hey, whoa! Dom grabbed his hands. Ethan, stop! You're safe! I have to go. Ethan gasped. I have to go. They'll find me. They always find me. Who finds you? The foster people. They put me back. They always put me back, and the bad things happen, and I can't. Ethan. Dom gripped his shoulders, forced the boy to look at him. Nobody's putting you anywhere. You hear me? You're staying right here. You don't understand. I ran away. They're gonna be mad. They're gonna send me to the bad place. There is no bad place. Not anymore. But listen to me. Dom's voice was firm, but gentle. I don't know what happened to you before. I don't know what those foster homes were like. But I'm telling you right now, you're not going back. Not to any of them. Ethan's breathing slowed slightly. How do you know? Because I won't let it happen. But you're not my dad. You can't. I can, and I will. Dom squeezed his shoulders. I talked to the CPS lady. We're gonna work something out. It might take a while, but until then you're staying with us. With me and Maria and Lily, in our home. Ethan stared at him. Why? Why what? Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Dom sat back. You're right. I don't know you, but I know what you did. And that tells me everything I need to know about who you are. The machines beeped steadily. Ethan's hands were shaking. I'm scared, he whispered. Of what? That you'll change your mind. That I'll do something wrong, and you'll send me away like everyone else. Dom felt his heart crack right down the middle. Kid, let me tell you something. I've done a lot of things in my life. Some good, some not so good. But I've never broken a promise. Not once. And I'm promising you right now, you're not going anywhere. Promise, promise. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly he reached out and took Dom's hand. It was the first time he'd initiated contact with anyone. At 6:00 p.m., the clubhouse called. Prez, we've got something. Dom stepped out of the room. Talk. Razor traced the parking ticket. The van was registered to a shell company, but we followed the money. There's a property outside town, old warehouse near the river. We've been watching it for 3 hours. And there's movement, people coming and going, and Prez... Brick's voice dropped. We saw a kid in the window. Dom's blood turned to ice. How many men inside? At least 6 that we've counted, maybe more. Armed? We have to assume so. Dom closed his eyes. Those kids on the list. They weren't just names anymore. They were real. And at least one of them was in that warehouse right now. Call Hollins. Tell him what we found. The cops prez by the time they get a warrant. I know, but we need them there when it goes down. We find the kids we call in the cavalry. This has to be clean brick. These kids have been through enough. Understood. What about us? Surround the property. Nobody in, nobody out. If anyone tries to run with those children, you stop them. And if they shoot first, Dom's jaw tightened, then we finish it. At 8:30 p.m., Maria came to relieve Dom at the hospital. Go, she said. Do what you need to do. Are you sure? He saved our daughter Dom. Whatever it takes to stop the people who tried to hurt her, I'm behind you. All the way. Dom kissed her, long and deep. I love you. I love you too. Now go be a hero. He walked out of the room. Lily was asleep in a chair. Ethan was awake, watching. You're leaving, he said. It wasn't a question. For a little while. Are you coming back? Yes. Promise? Dom walked to the bed. He took Ethan's hand. I promised you I wouldn't leave you alone. And I meant it. But there are other kids out there who need help right now. Kids who might end up in the same place Lily almost ended up. Ethan's eyes widened. The man who tried to take her wasn't alone. There are more of them, and we're going to stop them. Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then, be careful. I will. And Mr. Reyes, yeah, make them pay. Dom looked into those young eyes that had seen too much survived, too much been failed by too many people. Count on it, he said, and walked out into the night. The warehouse sat at the edge of town, surrounded by dead trees and rusted machinery. Dom pulled his bike to a stop beside Brick and the others. 53 motorcycles arrayed in a silent semicircle. No engines running. No lights. Status. 8 men inside confirmed. We spotted 3 kids through the windows. There might be more. Cops, Hollins is 5 minutes out with a tactical team. He's bringing everything he's got. Good. Dom pulled on his gloves. Remember, the children are the priority. Everything else is secondary. What if they use the kids as shields? Then we do this smart. No heroics. No one gets hurt except the people who deserve it. The men nodded. 5 minutes later, red and blue lights appeared on the horizon, and Dom Reyes, president of the Thunder Saints, father of the girl Ethan had saved, prepared to return the favor 100-fold. The radio crackled in Dom's ear. All units in position. Awaiting your signal, detective. Holland's voice came through, steady, controlled. Thunder Saints, you copy? Dom pressed his earpiece. Copy. We're ready. Remember the deal, Dominic. You're here as civilian observers. You see anyone trying to run with those kids, you stop them. That's it. My men handle the breach. Understood. I mean it. No cowboy stuff. Dom almost smiled. Wouldn't dream of it. The line went silent. Brick moved closer, his voice low. You really gonna let the cops have all the fun? I'm gonna let the cops take the legal risk. But if anyone slips through with a child... Dom's jaw tightened. They won't slip far. 53 bikers spread out along the perimeter. Silent. Watchful. A ring of leather and steel that nothing would pass through. Dom checked his watch. 11:47 p.m. Go time in 3 minutes, Hollins announced. Dom closed his eyes and thought of Ethan. 7 years old, bleeding in a parking lot, still holding Lily's hand. That boy had shown more courage than most men showed in a lifetime. Tonight, Dom would honor that courage. 11:50 p.m. The tactical team moved. Dom watched from his position as black-clad officers approached the warehouse from 3 directions. Quiet, professional, deadly efficient. The first breach came from the back door, then the front, then the side. The night exploded into chaos. Shouts, gunfire, breaking glass. Dom's hands gripped his handlebars so hard his knuckles went white. Shots fired, shots fired. Suspect down in the east corridor. We've got runners, 2 males heading for the north exit. Dom's head snapped toward the north side of the warehouse. 2 figures burst through a fire door, sprinting toward the tree line. One of them was carrying something. No. Someone. A child. Brick! I see them! 4 motorcycles roared to life. Dom led the charge, his engine screaming as he tore across the open ground. The runners heard them coming. The one without the child split off heading east. The other kept going north, the small body bouncing in his arms. Ghost Razor, take the east runner Brick with me. The bikes separated. Dom pushed his Harley harder than he'd ever pushed it. The gap closed. 50 yards. 30. 20. The runner looked over his shoulder and Dom saw his face, young, panicked, desperate, and absolutely terrified. Good. Stop, Dom bellowed. Put the child down! The man kept running. 10 yards. Dom made a decision. He gunned the engine, pulled ahead of the runner, and swung his bike sideways. The man tried to dodge, but Brick was already there, blocking the other direction. Trapped. Nowhere to go, Dom said, killing his engine. Put the child down. The man was breathing hard, wild-eyed. The child in his arms, a girl maybe 6 or 7, was limp. Unconscious or drugged, Dom couldn't tell. Back off, the man screamed. I'll hurt her, I swear to God I'll hurt her. No, you won't. I will, you won't. Dom stepped off his bike, slowly, calmly. Because if you do what happens next, will make you wish you'd never been born. You can't touch me. The cops are right there. The cops are busy, and by the time they get here, this will be over, one way or another. The man's eyes darted left-right, searching for an escape that didn't exist. Who are you people? We're the Thunder Saints. Dom took another step forward. And that little girl you tried to take yesterday, she belongs to me. The color drained from the man's face. Oh, God. Yeah. Another step. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to put that child down gently, and then you're going to lie face down on the ground with your hands behind your head. And if I don't, Dom smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Then I'm going to show you what happens to people who hurt children in my town. The man looked at Dom, at Brick, at the other bikers now forming a circle around them. He put the child down. Hollins arrived 3 minutes later, breathing hard. Damn it, Dominic, I told you. He was running with a kid. Was I supposed to let him go? Hollins looked at the man lying face down in the dirt, hands zip-tied behind his back. Then at the little girl, now conscious and crying in the arms of a female officer. She okay? Drugged, but alive. Paramedics are on their way. Hollins ran a hand over his face. We got 7 kids inside. 7. Ages 5 to 11, most of them drugged. Some of them... His voice cracked. Some of them have been there for weeks. Dom felt his stomach turn. How many suspects? 8 total, 2 dead, 4 in custody, 2 runners. Hollins nodded toward the man on the ground. Looks like you got one of them. Ghost and Razor have the other. Of course they do. Hollins shook his head. This is going to be a paperwork nightmare. Cry me a river. Dominic, those kids are alive, Ray. That's what matters. The rest is details. Hollins was quiet for a long moment. Yeah, he said finally. Yeah, I guess it is. At 2:30 a.m., Dom walked back into the hospital. Maria was asleep in the chair beside Ethan's bed. Lily was curled up next to Ethan, her small hand holding his even in sleep. Ethan was awake. His eyes found Dom immediately. You came back. Told you I would. Did you find them? The other kids? Dom pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. His body ached. His heart ached worse. Yeah, we found them. How many? 8. All safe now. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. I heard the nurses talking, he whispered. They said there was a list. They said Lily was on it. She was. They said there were other names too. Kids from all over. There were. If I hadn't seen that van. Ethan's voice broke. If I hadn't been in that parking lot. But you were. Dom leaned forward. You were there. And because you were there, Lily is safe. And because you stopped that man, we found the others. 8 kids, Ethan. 8 kids are going home to their families because of what you did. Ethan stared at him. I didn't do anything. I couldn't let him take her. I couldn't. That's exactly what courage is, kid. Seeing something wrong and not being able to let it happen. Most people look the other way. You didn't. I was scared. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you're scared as hell and you do the right thing anyway. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then, Mr. Reyes, yeah, what's going to happen to me now? Dom looked at this boy. This small, broken, impossibly brave boy who had lost everything and still found the strength to save a stranger. What do you want to happen? Ethan glanced at Lily, still sleeping beside him. At Maria in the chair. At the paper butterfly on his pillow. I want to stay, he whispered. But I know I can't. I know that's not how it works. People like me don't get to people like you, homeless kids, foster kids. We don't get families. We get placements, temporary, until something goes wrong and they send us somewhere else. Is that what you think is going to happen? It's what always happens. Dom reached out and took Ethan's hand. Not this time. You don't know that. Yeah, I do, because I'm not going to let it happen. But the CPS lady said it would take time. She didn't say no. And until it's official, you're staying with us. In our home, in Lily's room if she'll share, or in the guest room if she won't. She'll share? Lily's voice came from beside Ethan. She wasn't asleep after all. He can have the bed by the window. He can see the stars from there. Maria stirred, blinking awake. What's happening? Daddy's telling Ethan he can stay with us, Lily announced. Maria looked at Dom. He looked back at her. Something passed between them. A conversation without words. Years of marriage had given them that. Maria smiled. Well, she said, I guess we'd better start making up that guest room. The next morning, news crews descended on Riverside like locusts. 8 children rescued from a trafficking ring. 2 suspects dead, 6 in custody. A massive multi-state investigation launched. And at the center of it all, a story that nobody could quite believe. A 7-year-old homeless boy had started it all. By noon, Ethan's face was on every channel. The hospital had released a photo, just his eyes, to protect his identity, but somehow someone had leaked his name. The phone calls started immediately. News stations wanting interviews, talk shows wanting appearances, book publishers wanting rights, movie producers wanting options. Dom said no to all of them. He's 7 years old, he told the 20th caller. He's recovering from stab wounds. He doesn't need cameras in his face. But the public wants to know his story. The public can wait. That boy's been through enough. He hung up. Maria came in looking worried. There are reporters outside. How many? I counted 12 vans. Dom swore under his breath. Where's Ethan? Still in his room. Lily's with him. She's teaching him how to fold paper cranes. Dom went to the room and looked through the window. Ethan was sitting up in bed, tongue poking out in concentration, as Lily guided his hands through the folds. He looked almost peaceful, almost like a normal kid. Mr. Reyes? Sandra Mills appeared beside him, clipboard in hand. Ms. Mills. I've been making those calls, about Ethan's placement. And normally emergency foster certification takes weeks, background checks, home studies, interviews. She paused. But given the circumstances, I've managed to expedite things. Meaning if you can pass a background check in the next 48 hours, I can have temporary custody papers ready by Friday. Dom felt something loosen in his chest. I can pass any background check you throw at me. Even with your club affiliations. The Thunder Saints have never been charged with anything. We're a motorcycle club, not a gang. Some people would disagree. Some people are wrong. Sandra studied him for a long moment. Why do you want this boy so badly, Mr. Reyes? You barely know him. He saved my daughter's life. That's gratitude. That's not the same as wanting to raise a child. Dom was quiet for a moment. When I was 17, he said slowly, I was a lot like Ethan. No family, no home, no future. The streets were the only life I knew. Sandra's expression shifted. Someone found me, took me in, gave me a chance when nobody else would. He was a biker too, rough around the edges, not the kind of person society thought should be raising kids. What happened? He saved my life, gave me structure, discipline, purpose, made me the man I am today. Dom looked through the window at Ethan. I can't give that old man back what he gave me, but I can pay it forward. Sandra was quiet for a long moment. I'll start the paperwork today, she said. At 4:00 p.m. Hollins called with news. We broke one of them. The guy your boys caught running with the girl. What did he say? The operation is bigger than we thought. This warehouse was just one node in a network that spans 5 states. They were moving kids through here every 2 weeks. Moving them where? Hollins was quiet. Ray. Moving them where? Overseas. To buyers. Dom's vision went red. Buyers. I know. We're coordinating with the FBI, Homeland Security, everyone we can. This is going to take months to unravel. Months those kids don't have. We got 8 of them out, Dom. That's 8 families who are getting their children back. Because of what you did. What that little boy did. It's not enough. It's never enough. But it's something. Dom hung up. He stood there for a long moment, staring at his phone, thinking about all the children they hadn't saved. All the ones still out there trapped in a nightmare no child should ever know. Daddy. He turned. Lily was standing in the doorway holding a paper crane. What's wrong? Nothing, baby girl. You look sad. He knelt down to her level. Come here. She walked into his arms, and he held her tight. His little girl. Safe. Alive. Because a homeless boy had refused to look away. Daddy, you're squishing me. Sorry. He loosened his grip, but didn't let go. I just love you, that's all. I love you too. She wiggled free and held up the crane. Look what Ethan made. He's really good at it now. That's beautiful, baby. I'm gonna teach him to make butterflies next, and then dragons. Dragons are hard, but I think he can do it. I think he can do anything. Lily smiled. Me too. Friday came faster than Dom expected. Sandra Mills arrived at 10:00 a.m. with a stack of papers and a pen. Background check cleared. Home study approved. References verified. She set the documents on the hospital table. Sign here, here, and here. Dom signed without hesitation. Maria signed after him. Congratulations, Sandra said. You're now Ethan's official foster parents, temporary custody subject to court review in 90 days. And after 90 days, if everything goes well, we can discuss permanent placement, possibly adoption. Dom looked at Maria. She was crying. Thank you, she said to Sandra. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Thank your husband. He was very persuasive. Dom almost smiled. The door opened, and Lily came in, dragging Ethan by the hand. Is it done? Is it official? Is Ethan staying? It's official, Dom said. He's staying. Lily screamed so loud the nurses came running. He's staying. Ethan's staying forever. Ethan just stood there, frozen, his eyes wide. Forever, he whispered. Well, Dom said, let's start with forever and see how it goes. For a long moment, Ethan didn't move, didn't speak. Then his face crumpled. The tears came not quiet tears, but deep, racking sobs that shook his entire body. Years of loneliness, years of fear, years of believing no one would ever want him, all pouring out in a flood he couldn't control. Maria was there in an instant, pulling him into her arms. It's okay, sweetheart. It's okay. Let it out. I thought nobody would ever— I know. Dom knelt beside them, one hand on Ethan's back, the other on Lily's shoulder. You're home now, he said quietly. Whatever that means, whatever that looks like, you're home. Ethan looked up at him through his tears. I don't know how to have a home. That's okay. We'll figure it out together. The next morning, 200 motorcycles rode into Riverside. They came from every direction, from Austin and Houston and Dallas, from Oklahoma and Louisiana and New Mexico. Thunder Saints, Iron Wolves, Desert Ravens, Hell's Legion. Word had spread. A 7-year-old homeless boy had saved a biker's daughter, had exposed a trafficking ring, had shown more courage than most men show in a lifetime, and the biker community wanted to say thank you. Ethan stood at the hospital window watching them arrive. His mouth was open. His eyes were huge. What's happening? He breathed. Dom stood beside him. They're here for you. For me, for you. But I don't know any of them. Doesn't matter. They know you. They know what you did. And in our world that means something. The motorcycles kept coming. 10, 20, 50, 100, 200. They filled the hospital parking lot and spilled out onto the street. Traffic stopped. People came out of buildings to stare. News helicopters circled overhead, and in the center of it all, a 7-year-old boy stood at a window and watched an army arrive in his honor. Mr. Reyes. Ethan's voice was barely audible. Yeah. Why do they care? They don't even know me. Dom put his hand on Ethan's shoulder. Because you're one of us now, and we take care of our own. Ethan's eyes never left the window. 200 engines idled below, a rumble like distant thunder, like a promise, like a heartbeat. Dom wheeled Ethan out the hospital's front entrance, and the world erupted. 200 bikers rose to their feet. 200 engines roared in unison. The sound was deafening, overwhelming, a wall of thunder that vibrated through Ethan's chest and shook him to his core. He grabbed the armrests of his wheelchair, his knuckles white. It's okay, Dom said, leaning close. They're not gonna hurt you. They're saluting you. Saluting. Watch. One by one, the bikers removed their helmets. Old men with gray beards, young men with tattoos crawling up their necks, women with leather vests and fierce eyes. They placed their right fists over their hearts and bowed their heads. 200 bikers, one 7-year-old boy. Silence fell. Then Brick stepped forward. His voice carried across the parking lot. On behalf of the Thunder Saints, the Iron Wolves, the Desert Ravens, and every brother and sister who rides under the open sky, we honor you, Ethan. You showed us what courage looks like. You reminded us why we wear these patches. And from this day forward, you are one of us. Ethan couldn't speak, couldn't move. Tears streamed down his face. Brick reached into his vest and pulled out something small. He walked to Ethan and knelt down. This belonged to my son, he said quietly. He died when he was 9. Leukemia. He never got to prospect, never got to ride. But he always wanted this. He pressed the object into Ethan's palm. It was a small metal pin, a thundercloud with a lightning bolt through it. You wear this and every saint in the country knows your family. You need anything, anywhere, anytime you show them this pin, and they'll move heaven and earth to help you. Ethan looked at the pin, then at Brick, then at the 200 bikers still standing at attention. I don't deserve this, he whispered. Kid, you earned it. Blood price, the highest price there is. Brick stood and stepped back. Dom leaned down. You ready to go home? Home. Ethan had never had one before. Yeah, he said. I'm ready. The convoy stretched for 3 miles. 200 motorcycles escorted Ethan through the streets of Riverside sirens from police escorts clearing the way. People lined the sidewalks, cheering, waving, holding signs. We love you, Ethan. Riverside's hero. You're not invisible anymore. Ethan read each sign through the window of Dom's truck, his heart pounding. Why do they care? He asked. Maria turned from the passenger seat. Because you did something beautiful, sweetheart. You reminded people that good still exists, that courage isn't dead. They needed that, more than you know. I didn't do it for them. I know. That's what makes it special. Lily bounced in the seat beside Ethan. This is like a parade just for you. It's too much, Ethan said quietly. Dom glanced in the rearview mirror. Get used to it, kid. You're family now. And this family doesn't do anything small. The Reyes house sat at the end of a quiet street. When the convoy pulled up, Ethan saw what they'd done. A banner stretched across the porch. Welcome home, Ethan. Balloons, streamers, a table loaded with food. And people, so many people. Neighbors, club members, Mrs. Santos from the diner, even Detective Hollins looking uncomfortable in civilian clothes. Surprise! Lily shouted, even though it wasn't really a surprise. Ethan's legs shook as he climbed out of the truck. I can't, he whispered to Dom. There's too many. I don't know how to... Hey. Dom gripped his shoulder. You don't have to do anything. Just be here. That's enough. But they're all looking at me. Because they're proud of you. Because they want you to know you matter. Dom's voice softened. When's the last time someone told you that you mattered, Ethan? Ethan couldn't remember. Maybe never. Come on, Dom said. One step at a time. The party lasted for hours. Ethan spent most of it hiding behind Dom or Maria, overwhelmed by the attention. But slowly, gradually, he began to relax. Mrs. Santos hugged him so tight, he thought his ribs might re-break. You brave, beautiful boy, she said, tears streaming down her face. I always knew there was something special about you. Always. You left me sandwiches, Ethan said, when I was living behind your diner. You left them where I could find them. You knew? I always knew. You were the only one who was nice to me. Mrs. Santos cried harder. Hollins found him sitting alone on the porch steps watching the sunset. Mind if I join you? Ethan shrugged. The detective lowered himself down with a grunt. Getting old? Knees aren't what they used to be. Silence. I wanted to thank you, Hollins said. What you did that night stopping that man, it broke the whole case wide open. We've made arrests in 3 states. Rescued 11 more kids since Friday. Ethan's head snapped up. 11? Because of the information we got from the warehouse. Names, locations, contacts. It's all connected, and you pulled the first thread. I didn't know. I just saw him watching Lily, and I knew something was wrong. That's called instinct. Most cops take years to develop it. You've got it naturally. Ethan was quiet for a moment. My mom used to say I noticed things other people missed. She said it was a gift. She was right. She died when I was 5. Cancer. Hollins nodded slowly. I'm sorry. After that, I went to foster care. But the families. Ethan's voice trailed off. They weren't good. Some were okay, some weren't. I ran away when I was 6. Lived on the streets ever since. Hollins let out a long breath. The system failed you. The system doesn't care about kids like me. Maybe. But there are people who do. Dom and Maria, they care. The saints care. Hell, I care. And I'm a cop who's supposed to be impartial. Ethan looked at him. Why? Because courage deserves to be honored. Because a child who risks his life for another child deserves more than the world gave him. Because sometimes doing the right thing should actually lead to something right. Ethan didn't know what to say. Hollins stood up, his knees cracking. You ever think about what you want to be when you grow up? I never thought I'd grow up. The words hit Hollins like a punch. Well, he said quietly, you're going to now. So maybe start thinking about it. He walked back inside, leaving Ethan alone with the sunset and a question he'd never been asked before. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. His room, the words felt foreign, was warm and quiet. The bed was soft, clean sheets. A real pillow. A blanket that didn't smell like mildew. It was too much. Too different, too safe. He slipped out of bed and padded to the window. The street was dark and peaceful. No sirens, no shouting, no danger. Can't sleep either. He spun around. Lily stood in the doorway, clutching a stuffed elephant. You scared me. Sorry, I heard you moving around. She walked in and sat on the edge of his bed. Are you okay? Yeah, just not used to it. Used to what? This, all of this. Having a room, having people. Lily tilted her head. You're gonna have us forever now. That's what Daddy said. Nothing's forever. We are. She said it with absolute certainty. The certainty of a 5-year-old who had never been betrayed by the world. You saved me, so now we're family. That's how it works. Who told you that? Nobody. I just know. She held out her stuffed elephant. You can borrow Mr. Trunk if you want. He helps me sleep when I'm scared. Ethan looked at the worn elephant, its fur matted from years of love. I can't take Mr. Trunk. He's yours. Just for tonight. He'll protect you. Something broke open in Ethan's chest. A wall he'd been building for 2 years, crumbling brick by brick. Okay, he whispered. Just for tonight. Lily smiled, handed him the elephant, and climbed up next to him. I'll stay too, in case you get scared. You don't have to. I want to. She curled up beside him, her small body warm against his side. Within minutes, she was asleep. Ethan held Mr. Trunk against his chest and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in 2 years, he didn't feel alone. Morning came too fast. Ethan woke to the smell of bacon and the sound of laughter from downstairs. Lily was gone, but Mr. Trunk was still in his arms. He made his way to the kitchen, where Maria was cooking, and Dom was reading a newspaper at the table. "There he is," Maria smiled. "Hungry?" Ethan nodded. "Sit down. Breakfast is almost ready." He sat across from Dom, who lowered the paper and studied him. "You sleep okay?" "Lily came in. She gave me her elephant." "She does that. Kid's got a bigger heart than anyone I know." Dom paused. "You're part of that heart now. You know that, right?" Ethan didn't answer. "Hey." Dom leaned forward. "I know this is hard. I know you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was the same way when someone first took me in." "What happened?" "I kept waiting for them to give up on me. Kept testing them, pushing them away, doing everything I could to prove I wasn't worth the trouble. Did they give up? No. They just loved me harder. Eventually I figured out that some people actually mean what they say." "How long did it take?" Dom smiled. "Too long. Don't make my mistake, kid. Let yourself be happy. You've earned it." Maria set a plate in front of Ethan. Bacon, eggs, toast, orange juice. More food than he used to eat in a week. "Thank you," he said. "You're welcome, sweetheart. Now eat. You're too skinny." The doorbell rang at 11:00 a.m. Dom answered it and found Sandra Mills on the porch, but she wasn't alone. Behind her stood a man and a woman. Middle-aged, well-dressed, expensive car in the driveway. "Mr. Reyes, may we come in?" Dom's eyes narrowed. "What's this about? These are Mr. and Mrs. Patterson. They'd like to discuss Ethan." "Discuss him how?" The man stepped forward. "Mr. Reyes, my name is David Patterson. My wife and I are Ethan's biological aunt and uncle." The world stopped. Maria appeared behind Dom. "What did you say?" "Ethan's mother was my sister," David explained. "She died when Ethan was 5. We tried to find him after she passed, but by the time we located his foster placement, he'd already run away." "We've been searching for 2 years," the woman added. Her name was Catherine, and her eyes were red like she'd been crying. "When we saw him on the news, we couldn't believe it. We thought he was dead." Dom didn't move from the doorway. "If you've been searching for 2 years, why didn't you find him?" "The system failed. Records were incomplete. We were told he'd been placed with a family in Houston, but that placement never happened. He fell through the cracks. And now you want him back." "He's our family, our blood. Where were you when he was sleeping in alleys, when he was eating out of dumpsters, when he was getting stabbed trying to protect my daughter?" Catherine flinched. "We didn't know. We would have come sooner but you didn't. And now that he's famous, now that he's on every TV screen in America, suddenly you show up." "That's not fair," David said. "Fair." Dom's voice rose. "You want to talk about fair? That boy has been through hell. He finally has a home, finally has people who love him, and you want to rip him away because you share some DNA. He's our nephew. He's my son." The words hung in the air. Dom hadn't planned to say them, but as soon as they left his mouth, he knew they were true. "He's my son," he repeated, quieter now. "Maybe not by blood, but in every way that matters." Sandra stepped forward. "Mr. Reyes' legally biological family takes precedence in custody matters. If the Pattersons pursue this, then let them pursue it. In court. In front of a judge. In front of the whole damn world." Dom looked at David and Catherine. "You want Ethan? You'll have to fight for him. And I promise you, you've never been in a fight like this." He stepped back and closed the door. Ethan was standing in the hallway. He'd heard everything. "I have an aunt and uncle." Dom's heart clenched. "Ethan, they've been looking for me for 2 years. That's what they say. Why didn't they find me?" "I don't know." Ethan's face was pale. His hands were shaking. "Are they going to take me away?" Dom knelt down so they were eye to eye. "Nobody's taking you anywhere." "But they're family, real family, blood family." "Blood doesn't make family. Love does. Sacrifice does. Being there when it matters does. Those people out there might share your DNA, but they don't know you. They didn't hold your hand in the hospital. They didn't watch you fight for your life. But if the court says, the court will hear our side too. You'll get to tell the judge what you want. And I swear to you, whatever you decide, I'll support it, even if it breaks my heart." Ethan stared at him. "What if I want to stay? Then you stay, no matter what it takes. Promise, promise." Ethan threw his arms around Dom's neck and held on like he was drowning. And maybe he was. The next 2 weeks were a war. Lawyers, court dates, social workers, interviews. The Pattersons were relentless. They hired the best attorneys money could buy. They presented themselves as the perfect family, stable, wealthy, respectable. They painted Dom as a dangerous biker, unfit to raise a child. The media picked sides. Some called Dom a hero. Others called him a criminal who'd manipulated a traumatized boy. Through it all, Ethan stayed silent. He went to school. He did his homework. He ate dinner with Dom and Maria and Lily every night. But the light in his eyes was fading. One night, Dom found him on the porch steps, staring at nothing. "Can't sleep." Ethan shook his head. Dom sat beside him. "Talk to me." "I don't want to hurt anyone." "What do you mean? If I stay with you, the Pattersons will be hurt. If I go with them, you and Maria and Lily will be hurt." Ethan's voice cracked. "Why does someone always have to get hurt?" "Because life isn't fair. You know that better than anyone." "I'm tired of things not being fair." "Me too, kid. Me too." They sat in silence for a while. Then Ethan said something that stopped Dom's heart. "Maybe I should just disappear again. Run away. Then nobody has to fight over me." Dom grabbed his shoulders, turned him so they were face to face. "Don't you ever say that again. You hear me? Never." "But you are not a problem to be solved. You are not a burden. You are a child who deserves to be loved, and running away won't change that. It'll just mean the people who love you spend the rest of their lives wondering what happened to you." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what to do." "You don't have to know. That's our job. The adults. We'll figure it out. What if you can't? Then we'll figure out something else. But we'll do it together, as a family." Ethan wiped his eyes. "I love you," he whispered. "Is that okay to say?" Dom pulled him into a hug so tight it probably hurt. "It's more than okay. I love you too, kid. More than I ever thought possible." The custody hearing was set for Friday. Judge Margaret Chen presiding. Both sides would present their cases, and then a 7-year-old boy would have to make the hardest decision of his life. The courtroom was packed. Ethan sat between Dom and Maria, wearing a button-down shirt that Maria had bought him just for today. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Across the aisle, David and Catherine Patterson sat with their lawyers. Catherine kept looking at Ethan, her eyes wet with tears. David stared straight ahead, jaw tight. Judge Margaret Chen entered, and everyone rose. "Be seated." The room settled. Judge Chen studied the papers in front of her. Then she looked up, her eyes finding Ethan. "Before we begin, I want to make something clear. This hearing is about what's best for a child, not what's best for the adults who want him. I will hear arguments from both sides, but ultimately I will also hear from Ethan himself." She paused. "Is that understood?" Both legal teams nodded. "Good. Mr. Patterson, you may begin." David's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, this case is simple. Ethan is the biological nephew of my clients. His mother was David Patterson's sister, Sarah. When Sarah died, my clients attempted to locate Ethan but were thwarted by a broken foster system. They never stopped looking. They never gave up hope. And now that they've found him, they want nothing more than to give him the loving home he deserves." The lawyer placed a stack of documents on the judge's desk. "These are records of every attempt my clients made to find Ethan. Private investigators, legal filings, donations to organizations that help locate missing children. The Pattersons have spent over $200,000 trying to bring their nephew home." Maria gripped Dom's hand under the table. "Furthermore," the lawyer continued, "my clients can provide Ethan with stability, educational opportunities, and financial security that his current placement simply cannot match. Mr. Reyes, while perhaps well-intentioned, is the president of a motorcycle club with a documented history of violence." Dom's jaw clenched. The Pattersons offer Ethan a normal childhood, a future. They are his blood, and blood should count for something. The lawyer sat down. Judge Chen nodded. "Mr. Reyes, your response." Dom's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, I could talk about the legal precedents. I could cite the dozens of cases where children were placed with non-biological families based on established bonds, but instead I'd like to call some witnesses who can speak to what actually matters here." "Proceed." The first witness was Mrs. Santos. She walked to the stand, her hands trembling slightly. "State your name and relationship to the child." "Rosa Santos. I own the diner where Ethan lived for almost 2 years. Lived behind my dumpster, in an alley." Her voice cracked. "He was there every day, sweeping collecting bottles, trying to stay invisible. He was 6 years old when he showed up. 6. Did you ever try to help him?" "I left him food, let him use my bathroom sometimes, but I was scared. Scared that if I called the authorities, they'd put him back in the system that had already failed him." "Did you ever see the Pattersons searching for him?" Mrs. Santos looked directly at David and Catherine. "Never. Not once in 2 years. I saw missing child posters all over this town. None of them had Ethan's face." Catherine buried her face in her hands. "But you know who I did see," Mrs. Santos continued. "I saw Dom Reyes sitting by that boy's hospital bed for 3 days straight. I saw Maria Reyes holding him while he cried. I saw Lily Reyes giving him her favorite stuffed animal because she couldn't stand to see him scared." Her voice rose. "Blood doesn't make family, Your Honor. Love makes family. And I've never seen anyone love a child the way the Reyes family loves Ethan." The second witness was Detective Hollins. "Detective, you were involved in the investigation following Ethan's injury. Can you describe what happened?" A 7-year-old homeless boy threw himself in front of a knife to save a 5-year-old girl from a kidnapper. His actions led to the exposure of a multi-state trafficking ring. We've rescued 19 children because of what Ethan did. And Mr. Reyes, what was his involvement? He paid for all of Ethan's medical care, stayed at the hospital for days, organized a volunteer search party when the suspects fled, coordinated with law enforcement to locate the trafficking warehouse. Is it true that Mr. Reyes is the president of a motorcycle club?" "Yes, the Thunder Saints. They're not a gang. They're a brotherhood. And in 30 years of police work, I've never seen a community rally around a child the way they rallied around Ethan. Do you believe Ethan would be safe in Mr. Reyes's care?" Hollins looked at Dom. "I believe Ethan would be loved, protected, cherished. And I believe that's worth more than any bank account or fancy house." The third witness was Lily. She was so small she could barely see over the witness stand. Maria had to help her climb up. "Hi," she said to the judge. "Hello, Lily. Do you know why you're here?" "Because some people want to take Ethan away." "And how do you feel about that?" Lily's face crumpled. "I don't want him to go. He's my brother now. He saved me from the bad man. He got hurt because of me. I'm supposed to take care of him forever. That's what I promised." "You promised?" "When he was in the hospital, I told him I'd never leave. I gave him my butterfly. I gave him Mr. Trunk." Tears streamed down her face. "He's my brother. You can't take him. Please don't take him." The courtroom was silent. Even Catherine Patterson was crying now. Judge Chen leaned forward gently. "Thank you, Lily. You've been very brave. I learned it from Ethan." The fourth witness was Sandra Mills. "Ms. Mills, you're the CPS caseworker assigned to this situation. What's your recommendation?" Sandra took a deep breath. "My recommendation is that Ethan remain with the Reyes family." The Pattersons' lawyer shot to his feet. "Objection. Ms. Mills has already established a relationship with the Reyes family. She's biased." "I'm not biased," Sandra said calmly. "I'm experienced. I've worked in child services for 15 years. I've placed hundreds of children, and I've learned to recognize when a placement is working. And this one is working. Ethan has been with the Reyes family for 3 weeks. In that time, he's gained 4 pounds. He's sleeping through the night for the first time in years. He's enrolled in school. He's making friends. He's healing." She looked at the judge. "The Pattersons may be his blood relatives, but the Reyes family has become his home. Removing him now would cause severe psychological damage. I've seen what happens when we prioritize biology over bonding. It rarely ends well." Finally, it was Ethan's turn. He walked to the stand on legs that felt like water. The whole room was staring at him. 200 people, maybe more. Judge Chen smiled kindly. "Ethan, do you understand what's happening here?" He nodded. 2 families want me. I have to choose." "Not exactly. You get to tell me what you want. Then I'll make a decision based on what's best for you. But your voice matters. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Take your time." Ethan looked at the Pattersons, then at Dom and Maria and Lily, then back at the judge. "Can I tell you a story first?" Judge Chen blinked. "Of course." Ethan took a shaky breath. "When I was little, my mom used to make paper butterflies. She'd fold them out of napkins and newspaper and anything she could find. She said butterflies were magic because they started as something ugly and turned into something beautiful. She said that could happen to people too." His voice cracked. "After she died, I forgot about the butterflies. I forgot about a lot of things. I had to, because remembering hurt too much." He looked at Lily. "Then I met Lily, and she made me a butterfly, out of a napkin just like my mom, and she gave it to me like it was the most precious thing in the world." Tears spilled down his cheeks. "That butterfly saved me. It made me remember that I was a person, not just a homeless kid, not just a problem. A person." He turned to the Pattersons. "I know you're my aunt and uncle. I know you looked for me, and I'm grateful. I am. But you didn't find me when I was sleeping in alleys. You didn't find me when I was hungry and scared and alone. Someone else did." He looked at Dom. "Mr. Reyes found me. Mrs. Reyes found me. Lily found me. They didn't have to care about me. I was just some random kid who happened to be in the right place at the right time, but they cared anyway. They loved me anyway." His voice broke completely. I don't want to leave them. Please don't make me leave them. This is the first time I've ever felt like I belonged somewhere, like I mattered, like I was home. He wiped his face with his sleeve. That's all. That's what I wanted to say. Judge Chen was quiet for a long moment. The courtroom held its breath. Ethan, she said finally, thank you for your courage, for your honesty, for trusting me with your story. She shuffled her papers. In my 20 years on the bench, I've heard a lot of custody arguments, parents fighting over children like property, adults putting their needs before the needs of the kids they claim to love. She looked at the Pattersons. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, I don't doubt that you love Ethan. I don't doubt that you searched for him. But love alone isn't enough. Connection matters. History matters. And the bond that's been formed between Ethan and the Reyes family in these past 3 weeks is unlike anything I've ever seen. She looked at Dom and Maria. Mr. and Mrs. Reyes, you opened your home to a stranger. You fought for a child who had no one else to fight for him. You loved him before you had any obligation to. She paused. It is the ruling of this court that Ethan shall remain in the custody of Dominic and Maria Reyes. The Pattersons are granted visitation rights to be arranged at a later date, but primary custody and eventually adoption proceedings will move forward with the Reyes family. Dom exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for a year. Maria burst into tears. Lily screamed and launched herself at Ethan, nearly knocking him off the witness stand. You're staying forever. Ethan caught her, held her, and finally let himself believe it. He was home. The Pattersons approached them outside the courtroom. Dom tensed, ready for a fight. But David just stood there looking broken. Mr. Reyes, Dom, I want you to know something. Dom waited. We weren't trying to take him from you. We just wanted our nephew. We wanted what was left of my sister. His voice cracked. Sarah would have loved what you've done for him. She would have been grateful. And I'm grateful too. He extended his hand. Dom looked at it for a long moment. Then he shook it. You're still his family, Dom said. Blood matters too, just not as much as love. Catherine knelt down to Ethan's level. I'm your Aunt Catherine. I know you don't know me yet, but I'd like you to, someday, when you're ready. Ethan studied her face. You look like my mom. Catherine's eyes filled with tears. She was my sister-in-law. I loved her very much. Can you tell me about her sometime? I don't remember much. I'd like that. I'd like that very much. She hugged him gently. Not the hug of someone claiming possession. The hug of someone saying hello. 3 months later, the adoption was finalized. Ethan Reyes. He said the name out loud in his room, testing how it felt on his tongue. Ethan Reyes, Ethan Reyes, Ethan Reyes. Stop saying your own name, weirdo. Lily appeared in his doorway, grinning. It's my name now. I can say it as much as I want. Fine, but dinner's ready. Mom made tacos. Mom. He still couldn't believe he got to call her that. At the dinner table, Dom raised his glass. To our family, all 4 of us. To family, Maria echoed. To tacos, Lily shouted. Everyone laughed. Ethan looked around the table at these people who had chosen him, who had fought for him, who had loved him when he'd given them no reason to. Can I say something? He asked. Of course, mijo. He'd never get used to that word. It made his chest warm every time. I used to think invisible was the safest thing to be, that if nobody saw me, nobody could hurt me. He paused. But then I met Lily, and she saw me. She saw me when nobody else did, and that scared me at first. But it also saved me. He looked at Dom. You saw me too. All of you. You looked at some dirty homeless kid, and you saw someone worth loving. I don't know why. I don't know what I did to deserve this. You saved our daughter, Maria said softly. No, you saved me. His voice broke. You gave me a family, a home, a name, a future. I didn't even know I was allowed to have those things. He wiped his eyes. So thank you. Thank you for not looking away. Thank you for making me visible. Dom reached across the table and took his hand. You were never invisible, Ethan. Not to us. Not to anyone who has eyes to see what really matters. What's that? Courage, kindness, heart. Dom squeezed his hand. You've got all three, kid. You always did. You just needed someone to remind you. 10 years later, Ethan Reyes stood at the back entrance of Santos Family Diner. He was 17 now, tall, strong. The scar on his arm had faded to a thin white line. He wore a leather vest with a thunder patch on the back. Not a full member yet. That would come when he turned 18. But everyone knew he'd earned his place a decade ago in blood and courage and love. You ready for this? Lily appeared beside him. 15, now fierce and beautiful, her father's daughter in every way that mattered. Ready as I'll ever be. They walked into the alley together. A boy was there, 8 years old. Dirty. Skinny. Eyes too old for his face. He was counting bottle caps. Ethan felt his heart crack open. He walked over slowly, not wanting to scare him. Hey. The boy looked up. Fear flickered across his face, then defiance. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'll leave. You don't have to leave. What do you want? Ethan pulled something from his pocket. A paper butterfly. Faded. Worn. Held together by tape and prayer. The same butterfly Lily had given him 10 years ago. I want to give you this. The boy stared at it. Why? Because someone gave it to me once, when I had nothing. It changed my life. Maybe it can change yours. I don't need your charity. It's not charity. It's hope. Ethan knelt down so they were eye to eye. I was you once, sleeping in alleys, eating from dumpsters, thinking nobody would ever see me. The boy's defiance wavered. What happened? Someone saw me. Someone decided I was worth fighting for. Ethan pressed the butterfly into the boy's palm. There's a place you can go. A shelter just opened downtown. It's called New Horizons. The people there will help you. How do you know? Because I helped build it. Because I run the youth outreach program. Because I made a promise that no kid in this town would ever have to be invisible again. The boy looked at the butterfly, then at Ethan. What's your name? Ethan Reyes. I'm Marcus. Ethan smiled. Nice to meet you, Marcus. You hungry? Starving. Come on then. Mrs. Santos still makes the best sandwiches in Riverside. He stood and offered his hand. Marcus hesitated. Then slowly he took it. That night, Ethan sat on the porch of his parents' house, looking up at the stars. Lily sat beside him, her head on his shoulder. You okay? Yeah. Just thinking. About what? About how one moment can change everything. How one person can change everything. He looked at her. You changed everything, Lily. That butterfly you gave me. That moment you saw me, it saved my life. You saved mine first. I guess we're even then. She laughed. We're not even. We're family. That's different. Different how? Family doesn't keep score. Family just loves, no matter what. Ethan put his arm around her. When did you get so wise? I learned from my big brother. They sat there together watching the stars. Two kids who had found each other in the darkest moment of their lives. Two kids who had become family. Two kids who had proven that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being terrified and choosing love anyway. The next morning, 200 motorcycles rode through Riverside. It was an annual tradition now. Every October, on the anniversary of the night Ethan had bled for a biker's daughter, the clubs gathered to remember, to honor, to celebrate. Ethan rode at the front beside his father. Behind them, 100 engines roared. Above them, the sky stretched endless and blue. And in his pocket, pressed against his heart, was a paper butterfly, a symbol of transformation, a reminder of hope, a promise that no child would ever have to be invisible again. Because Ethan Reyes had been invisible once, and he had risen, not alone, never alone, with 200 angels at his back. If this story moved, you share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you don't miss more stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And remember, every child deserves to be seen. Every child deserves to be loved. Be the person who doesn't look away. Comment, "I see you," to honor every invisible child still waiting to be found.